Hello everyone, it's Old Guardian here. You might be wondering what would be the best starter champion and what should be your first campaign farmer now in raid when there is Xenomorph up for grabs. And the situation is now a little bit different because Xenomorph does many of the same things that you traditionally have wanted Kael to do, and Kael has been the best starter champion. So what to do now? I'm going to explore that topic in this video. First, thank you Raid Shadow Legends for sponsoring this video and for giving me this wonderful promo link down below in the description, also there in the QR code. Use that link to start raid with the best possible champion set. And what about the farming capabilities? First of all, we have Xenomorph. For example, here I have Xenomorph. This is a level 50 Xenomorph, so not level 60 yet. And it has some pretty decent gear, so around 3000 attack, 226 speed, so better gear than you would have when you start the game. Also 100% crit, very important for Xenomorph to apply all those poisons. But Xenomorph is not really a campaign farmer. Obviously this Xenomorph is only level 50, so it's not quite as high level as others would be. And taking it out, like, even in good gear, what can level 50 Xenomorph do? Like, it can handle some of this stuff. It is able to attack, it is able to get some kills, but going in brutal, yeah, it's pretty slow going, even in somewhat decent gear. And going for the final round, we're trying, and I mean, it's mostly one-shotting it, so actually getting to level 60 wouldn't even improve it that much. So 37 seconds in good gear. Because Xeno is only level 50, then hard might be a more apt challenge for this. And in this one, it can definitely do more in one-shots, but like the AoE aspect of the infestation, it doesn't still doesn't even kill hard once, and getting to 60 and going to brutal wouldn't have any better effect. So this is what Xeno is capable of on a good day. And it's even weaker, of course, when you just get it. If we compare that performance to Kael, I have a Kael here with some pretty decent gear, 60 level Kael, so 4,500 attack, 102% crit, 208 speed. And taking this Kael on auto into brutal, now that Kael is leveled up and ranked up, then Kael goes to brutal and acid rain, kills stuff, disintegrate, doesn't always kill everything, but then boom boom, and then now Kael has to do some single target damage too, because Kael ran out of AoE and 14 seconds. We can also compare that performance to Elhain. One of my accounts uses Elhain, so here's a 4,500 attack, 198 speed, 100% crit Elhain. And taking this Elhain to brutal, so Elhain would just lightning arrow down the first wave, and then Valley of Death down the second wave, and then in the third wave, Elhain is now out of AoE attacks and has to use a single target ability. That means that the opponents could take some turns, and now Elhain has to do a little bit of single target hitting, and then boom, 21 seconds. We can also try Athel. I didn't have a level 60 Athel, but I have a level 50 Athel here with a little bit over 2000 attack, 200 speed, 100% crit. And taking this Athel to brutal results in something like this. So Divine Blades, they do clear the first things, then Athel already has to start using single target attacks next. And that means the enemies also get some turns. Athel does some AoE, then again single target. And a little bit more AoE. A little bit more single target. So Athel at 50, doing this in 24 seconds. Or given that she's on level 50, we could also do hard and see what Athel does in hard. So one shot with Divine Blades, of course. And then here, now Athel should be able to clear this a little bit faster, because they are a little bit lower level, and she will be able to kill them slightly more consistently. So here, and Divine Blades, and 19 seconds. As for Galek, I only have a level 40 Galek available, so 1700 attack, 100% crit, 216 speed. And using that Galek in hard, I think brutal would be a bit of an unfair challenge for a level 40. But going into hard, AoEs them down quite nicely. Then has to use some single target abilities on the second wave. And then comes the third wave. Some AoE and single target hits again and does it in 18 seconds. If you go into promo codes, you could also consider Tholin. Tholin is actually a pretty excellent campaign farmer, so here I have a Tholin with 3800 attack, 222 speed, 100% crit. And taking this Tholin into Brutal 12-6 looks like this. This is without any presets, so if I used presets I could get Tholin to use AoE always. Now, unless you have a preset, then Tholin is likely to go to use single target attack as well. Here that back to the abyss is completely unnecessary. But Tholin is going to be able to recover from that anyway. Actually, I don't remember seeing that survive so often. But sometimes, and Tholin just does it in 14 seconds and has done it in 10 seconds at best. And this is with Tholin being weak affinity for this particular encounter. I've also seen people use Tuhanarak for the campaign. Well, here's a Tuhanarak with almost 4000 defense, 100% crit, 221 speed. And when we take this Tuhanarak into 12-6 Brutal, the result is going to look like this. So Tuhanarak does not have that area damage, which means that, yeah, I mean, even with high speed and speed buffs and everything, I don't really like this. Because even though there are diminishing returns in doing things faster and faster, eventually you're doing them fast enough anyway. And like if you can do it sub 20 seconds, you're typically doing pretty well, even though you can go as slow as something like 6 seconds with a fully tuned campaign farmer. All of these are in boss fight builds, so none of these are in campaign farmer builds. But Tuhanarak does take her time, so even highly geared Tuhanarak 49 seconds. That's not very impressive at all. So what should you think about all of this? Well, first, all of the 4 starter champions are competent campaign farmers. All of them can farm the campaign no matter which one you choose. Then Xenomorph is clearly slower than the starter champions, so Xenomorph is not really an ideal choice for a campaign farmer. Although Xenomorph is far better than Tuhanarak, I really didn't like Tuhanarak as a campaign farmer. I think that's where the returns are so poor that it's just going to take you way too much time. It's already going to affect how you play the game. Whereas Tholin, if you go for Tholin from the promo code, Tholin is a better campaign farmer than any of the starter rares. So if you go with Tholin, then Tholin should be a campaign farmer, and actually I did not even level up my starter rare on the account where I chose Tholin. And Tholin is just so good, even when his affinity is weak. I had to farm a little bit in 11 instead of 12 at the start when I didn't have any gear, so the weak affinity hurt a little bit at the start. But once Tholin got some gear, then even with comparable gear as the rares and not fully booked, then Tholin just became so much better. So overall, in the current Xenomorph world, the starter champion choice really doesn't matter that much at all, because you don't necessarily need them for the clan boss. There can be a small advantage actually in picking Galek, because picking the starter champion means that you would get the starter champion's faction crypt open for your first week, and Galek is an orc, and you get Tagoar right at the start with my link, which means that then you would have Galek and Tagoar to go into the orc faction crypt for the first week, and that can give you a small advantage, but nothing really major. So the choice of starter champion is far less important now than it used to be earlier in raid. For full min-maxing, playing like crazy all the time, then you want to go with Galek for that orc faction crypt. Other than that, you can just do whatever you want to do. At least until Xenomorph is no longer offered as a login champion, because once Xenomorph is no longer offered, then you might need Kael for the clan boss again, depending on what else is available at that point. Thank you for watching. Click like and subscribe if you enjoyed this, and a special thanks to all of my Patreon supporters, YouTube members and Twitch subscribers who make all of these videos possible.